What's up, ladies and gentlemen, it's Thalamus, Tigron. Today we are going to be taking a first look at Mind Path of Thalamus. I actually ended up getting this game. I didn't even know this game existed, in fact, until I actually saw it on sale at a humble indie bundle. And it's absolutely wonderful. It is breathtaking. I actually skipped the intro sequence of this game because I think that if you get this game, you should be able to experience that part for yourself. It is really, really cool and very cinematic. The way that this game works, it is pretty much like a first-person linear puzzle experience that is based in a absolutely beautiful world. I know that what you're thinking, and you're looking at all this going, really? How's that beautiful? You'll see what happens there, Buster. You will see. The game also is very basic in the way that it's played, which is actually another thing that adds to the beauty of it. It is so simple, where you actually have these little root balls, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. It's a ball made of roots. That's what it looks like to me, or DNA or something like that. And you just pick them up either by just walking into them, or you can just left click, and then space is your jumping, which you don't need to do that much of jumping. There's some platforming, light platforming elements in some of the layer levels and stuff like that, but overall it's not really anything. Now here's the way this game works. Up there is a gigantic fog field, and there are different gameplay elements and different puzzle elements to the game, but there will be things like this. Anytime you see these trees in a circle like this, if you stand in it, that is a fog power. So what it did was it cleared our path up ahead, but it made the world foggy. And as you see, we have to be standing in it, right? So one of the ways that this game likes to work is that's where these root things come into play, because you can leave it in the area, and then if we go over here, it still acts as if we're standing in it, and it takes away the fog that's in your way. Now, there are other obstacles that you will come across. I think the last one that you run into is time manipulation, which is absolutely wonderful, because you'll be in a forest and it's like all green and lush and stuff, and then you activate the time barrier, let's call it, where you stand in a time shift or whatever, and then suddenly the leaves turn to a autumn red, and it's really, really cool. But that's later in the game. Otherwise, here is where the beauty really comes in. This is one of the reasons that I wanted to skip to this point, is because, I mean, just look at this. Like, an amazing skybox, and the ground right here, it looks like it's all reflective and we're floating in the air, but nope, it is actually just this. Whoa! Sorry about that. That's my screenshot button, is the console button. I guess I should have changed that, but whatever. Anyway, this right here, elements like this is what actually sold me on this game. It is absolutely beautiful. Some moments are breathtaking, to say the least. Unfortunately, you won't be able to hear it because I'll cut it out and stuff like that, but unfortunately the story is not nearly as beautiful as the actual game and what it represents as an art form. The story overall is, I mean, I got a review on Steam, but it's like overall the story is fairly negative, and the main character ends up swearing a lot, and especially when you get to the last boss kind of just swears at you the whole time, and it just feels very out of place considering this. Like, look at this. Even those walls, I don't know if it's going to show up in the recording. I guess I should have actually looked at it, but well, anyway, the reflective surface that was up there was because of the water, and you can kind of see it cascading down the side, and it's absolutely wonderful. The other thing too that I love about this game, I can't say enough, because I'm kind of like an environment junkie. Like, I love beautiful environments like this, as well as variance is extremely important, and that is something that this game nails, where right at the beginning we're starting with stuff like this. We already got floating islands, but it's like later you end up going into an ice cave, you end up fighting against a big giant, and I don't want to spoil that or anything like that. You end up getting into a forest, and there is even a giant frozen ocean, which you will see in the trailer for this game on Steam and stuff like that. And all I will say, because that was one of the things that sold me on this game, was when I saw that ocean, man, it was like, wow, is that actual gameplay? And let me rest assured that it is, and it is just as beautiful as the trailer implies. So one of the things that I think that I would highly recommend is you have to check out the trailer before you actually get this game. Now, the puzzle elements start out very simple, but they get a little bit more complicated. One of the things that I don't know if we'll get to do today, hopefully we will, let's see what happens, but activating these mirrors kind of comes into play in this area, then it leaves for a while, and then it comes into play later. One of the biggest things that this game loves is once it introduces teleporting and portals and stuff like that. That is the crutch. Crutch? I don't know. That is the biggest puzzle element of this game, besides using those root things to activate certain like portals and stuff like that. But that's the thing, is usually the end game result that you're trying to go for is activating a portal. Yes. But then you get cool elements like this. They only do them very few and far in between. There are some puzzles that get a bit abrasive because they just keep repeating over and over. But otherwise, like this one, you'll run into maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the game where we, as you saw, we stood in it to deactivate the fog, and then we reactivate the fog by standing out of the circle, and it actually has a bit of force to us and knocked us up here. There is actually no other way to get up here so that we could activate this mirror and get out of this place. Yes, 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 yes. And it is absolutely wonderful. The story, though, like I said, I really do wish that it had the same amount of depth that this game does. You know, now here's where like this game's got really cool elements, really cool puzzle elements to it that are very unique to this game, and it does a very good job. Like there's this part right here where you can see it is just a solid platform all the way across, but if you actually look at the reflection in the water, you can see the real platform. So if we end up just going up here, like see, we just fall through the stairs, even though they're here. It's kind of a little bit glitchy, but for what it is, like those stairs don't actually exist. You can kind of see in the water there. So where the real stairs are is actually over here. And one of the things that I think is so cool about this game is the fact that it only ends up using this reflective surface puzzle, let's call it that, only here at the beginning of the game. It doesn't keep reusing it like throughout the game and all the way to the end. It does a very good job varying up the puzzles to match the environment. Now, once you actually get out of this area, I don't think we'll have enough time to get to it today, but once you actually end up getting out of this cool reflective beach, I guess you would call it, you end up going into a cave system. And then once you end up getting into the cave system, it takes a little while before you actually get out of there. And that is one of the things I think also that really sold me on this game. Is one of the things that I always love in video games is when you're stuck in a cave for a while and then eventually you get out and you see, like, you get to see the air and see like the area around you and stuff. And it is absolutely beautiful. It's just wonderful. Now this, I think, is just a straight line. Is that right? Or did I mess up? Yep, I messed up. Okay. Not a straight line, because you gotta get the proper reflective surface type of thing that's going on right here, yes? Okay, here we go. And then back over here, and then straight across this invisible spot, and there you go. This also, as you can kind of see, is the area where we deactivated that fog so that we could launch ourselves into the center. And now we are actually trying to do the exact same thing again. But we have to activate all of these mirrors so that we can open the way that we need to go in the first place, right? So really, really cool, and its execution and everything like that. Now this one I think stumped me the first time I went through it, because there is actually a third platform over here that is hidden. And then you just take up these invisible staircases, and thankfully it's designed extremely well where you just make sure that you're looking down at those posts, and then you can actually find your way across and stuff like that. Like that's the thing about this game, is that as far as the environments, as far as the puzzle, as far as the execution of everything except for the story, unfortunately, it is just executed so well, you know? Ooh, is it this way? Yeah, there it is. And then I'm guessing it's the opposite? Yeah, okay. But it is just done so well. Like, it's very surprising, because a lot of times games like this, like artsy games like this, like, what was it? The last artsy type of game that was a puzzle game that I played like this was when I did a co-op series with my brother, Giant Captain Napkin, of the Vanishing of Ethan Carter. That's it. And although that game was absolutely awesome, it didn't do what this game did, where it has enough variance in it that it stays fresh throughout, you know, for the whole experience. This is so cool. I love this spot. Now, the majority of the game is pretty much silent, but then there are key moments where it actually introduces well, I was gonna say soundtrack, but it's actually just one song, and it's absolutely beautiful. It fits perfectly with the game. I can't see the title of the game, you guys. I don't know why they did that. But one of the things that I think, honestly, this game would have very much benefited from is having like an actual full soundtrack throughout the whole experience. Would have just stepped it up even more. Now this is really cool. It's got cool stuff like this where there's a sun over there and there's a sun over there. This is, of course, I should have mentioned at the beginning, on the Unreal Engine. That is one of the reasons that it can look so beautiful. Now we'll probably just do this puzzle right over here, which it's not much of a puzzle. It's just searching for one of these vine root things, and we gotta bring it back over here. One of the things that gets a bit abrasive, as I mentioned earlier about the puzzles, is that I had maybe 2 spots throughout my entire experience where I had to actually look up a walkthrough, and not because the puzzle was actually like that difficult or anything like that, but just because I couldn't figure out for the life of me what the game actually wanted me to do. And then it turns out that it was just, I just needed to find more of those vine things, and they actually hid one underwater where you literally couldn't see it, like visually you couldn't, so you had to stumble across it accidentally. And then there was another spot where it was hiding in some tall grass, and those are the only 2 spots I needed to walk through, and those are the only 2 puzzles that I would actually highly complain and say that they didn't do very well, because otherwise the rest of the game is just executed so well, where the puzzles themselves get a bit tricky, but not enough that you're sitting there pulling your hair out and getting all frustrated about or anything like that. You should be able to finish this game yourself without actually having to, you know, look up a walkthrough or anything like that. And one of the things too about this game was I do gotta say that it is short and sweet. Hello, now we gotta follow the water path, right? It is short and sweet. I actually beat it in just under 3 hours, and it seemed like the average amount of time that people spent when they reviewed this game was 3 hours. So I think 3 hours or less is the amount of time that it'll take to actually get through this game, which is not bad. You would think that it's pretty short, especially for what it is, but honestly, it fits very well, I think, personally, because it's just short enough that it doesn't get annoyingly long, while not being so short that it feels like it cheats you and stuff like that, you know? Now, when you get into these things, which later on they have these same, they're not crystals, they're more like flowers, but this is the nighttime, those are the portals, and these are static. I would say it's like Portal, but they're static. So that's kind of the only difference. And this, from this point on, the game just loves using the portals. Now, another thing too, one last element that I do want to say, because right now we're supposed to go into the cave system, find the last vine thing, so that we can actually leave it down here and keep it nighttime, so that these portals are permanently activated, as well as that, which is a night sphere. Now, whenever you get stumped later on, just remember that certain spheres only show up at night, because that was the only other part that confused me, because I didn't put it together myself. But there's not much hand holding in this game, and it does a very good job, and it's absolutely wonderful, and I would highly recommend getting it if you're into these types of games, because I'm actually really into these weird artsy type of games and stuff like that. The story, could have actually, the game would have actually been stronger if it didn't have a story. That's what I think personally, just because the way that it's executed is just very negative, considering that the game itself brings out such positive emotion, you know what I mean? But anyway, we're gonna call it here for this first look. Thanks so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Links will be in the description and everything like that. Don't forget to smack the like button, share, favorite, and subscribe to join Team Pixel. Sign on and stay epic, everybody. Believe in yourself. Don't care